This is not financial nor professional advice. This video is for entertainment only. Hey everyone, whatever happened to that nice Christmas rally we were having? It appeared with Santa Claus in the new year, and we were popping open the champagne bottles, and all of a sudden Jerome Powell came and told us what they planned to do, which is to apologize for being so late in planning to raise interest rates. And boy, are they going to make up for lost time, because now they're saying that they're not only going to raise it probably 3 times, but they might raise it 4 times. And not only that, we thought that would be it, that they would, raise the interest rates and leave that alone. But no, they're going to offload their balance sheet, and doing that and selling the bonds back and the money going back to the banks. They're selling the bonds that they hold, that they bought to up the market. They're selling those bonds, and that tends to increase the interest rates more. So the interest rates, in many ways, the Fed is driven by the bond market in many ways, and the bond market is going to make them raise interest rates simply because they will be so out of sync with the market if they don't do that. And I think it also provides them some cover in that they can sort of blame the bond market for making them raise interest rates. Hey, we're just responding to the market. And that happens more than we realize, that the bond market influences the Fed as much as the Fed influences the bond market. And I think basically they've been doing abnormal things at the Fed, and now the chickens are coming home to roost, and they've got to unwind what they've done. They overstimulated. I received checks in the mail, both for my business and then individually. I didn't really need the money, okay? And I think there's a lot of people, not a lot of people, but, I didn't really need the money. I know a lot of people that, were not desperate for the money. I didn't increase the economy, I don't think, in any meaningful way. I put the money in the bank, or I put it in the stock market, and I think that's what happened to a lot of the stimulus, is that a lot of it went into investment or things that people needed to buy, things like that. But I think the stimulus actually led, and also increasing the unemployment benefits. I think we found out that if you extend unemployment benefits a lot, okay, not everybody, but there's a certain percentage of people, let's say 20-30% of people, that are willing to stay home and accept the check. And especially under the circumstances that we have now. It's not all, no, I don't want to work. It's not that. It's also that I don't want to catch the flu. And if I go out there and work in the public, I'm more likely to catch it and bring it home to my family. So there's that risk-reward thing going on. And I think a lot of people decided, I just will sit this out for as long as I can, hoping that this flu thing gets over and we can go forward. And I think the child tax credit, that's been helpful to a large extent. But if you institutionalize that, again, there's a certain percentage of people that you say to them, hey, you can go out into the world and the health of the country is deteriorating, but you can go expose yourself and have a good time. Good luck with that. And I think a lot of people decide, I think it's really best for my family that I stay home and take care of my family, especially if there's school difficulties. That's why they got to keep the schools open. I know a lot of working two-parent families that to have to shut down. First maybe where they're working is sort of slower. Okay, so there's not as much money coming in, and then all of a sudden school goes off the table, or they want to do it online, and all of a sudden you got to become a supplementary teacher at home, or sort of kind of at least provide some kind of support to your child, or they're not going to be as diligent probably as they would be as if they were in school. So I think it creates a dilemma for people, and if you keep the schools open, at least it removes that headache. And we have mitigation measures that people can take to prevent the flu spread. So it's best to keep the schools open if that's at all possible. I think the country's come to the point of, hey, we don't want to lock down. Okay, we want to cope with this thing. We want to use every tool that in the toolbox that we have to fight this, but we don't want to lock down. Let's just all use our heads and get through this, which to me makes the most sense. I think eventually we're going to have a roaring 20s. The reason the roaring 20s hasn't started yet and why it's stalled out is because we're not through the flu yet. The roaring 20s didn't start until they were through the flu, okay? And this flu is somewhat less virulent than it was in 100 years ago. Now, when you have a more virulent flu, it tends to burn out faster, okay? Because the genius of this flu is people catch it and then they can pass it on without even knowing that they have it because they can be asymptomatic. And so the genius of this flu is that it's figured out a way to keep replicating and to keep people healthy enough to keep passing it on. So it's kind of less virulent, but it's easier to pass on and probably slower to burn out for that reason. So we may have a great delay in our roaring 20s scenario. I think we're slated for a recession. I'm hoping it's a shallow recession. I am completely out of the market. I don't advocate buying any stocks at this point. If I go back in, I'm going to go back and buy conservative stocks like Berkshire Hathaway. My portfolio, I had small stocks in there and stuff, and I had a lot of Berkshire Hathaway. In fact, the more crazy the market acted, the more Berkshire Hathaway I bought, and the losses I took on the small stocks was about equaled by the gains I made on Berkshire Hathaway. And boy, that just brings that stock just so close to your heart. I don't forget that. And so let me tell you, the first stock I'm going to buy, and buy in a major way, is Berkshire Hathaway. And then when it shows signs of recovery, I'm going to gradually go in two stocks. And I don't know whether it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be small stocks. I suspect the good scenario is that the large stocks, that they start to go sideways, okay? And that's actually a good scenario, because if they start going sideways and their earnings keep increasing, which they have been doing, at some point, a year from now maybe, they will be buys because their price to earnings ratios will have gone down significantly, not because their price decreased that much, but because their earnings increased a lot. Now, that would be a very favorable scenario. If the large stocks start to go down, I think the whole thing is going down. I think everything is going down at that point. You know, the biggest shorted stocks right now are the Russell 2000, which has smaller cap stocks. And so that's one of the indexes that they recommend you short. And I'm going to show you some indexes I'm thinking of shorting. I hate shorting, okay? And I only do this at selected times like this, where I flood the selected index for short periods of time, maybe 1 or 2 days at a time, a large amount of money for a short period of time. And I do that when I think the market's crashing. And the price action on today, Wednesday, and the aftermarket action, it looks like a major crash to me. And when the big stocks start coming down and you start seeing stocks like AMD and Nvidia and Facebook, you know, especially Facebook isn't overvalued significantly. It's undervalued. That stock should be over 400 easily. There's something very wrong. When you see that happening, you're in the midst of a major crash. But I'm going to show you some things I'm thinking of shorting as a way of dealing with this situation. But this video is getting much longer than I intended it to get. And I will detail specific funds that can be used to short the market without having to go through the whole shorting thing, that these funds do it for you. That's the way I like to do it. It's very convenient and very easy to do. And I will show you how I'm doing that in the next video. Plus, I'm going to bring up an interesting alternative investment that I ran into that's kind of fascinating. So I will say goodbye for now and wish you the best of luck, as we're all going to need it. Okay. Be sure to like and subscribe so that you receive future notification of future videos. And I wish you the best, and thank you so much.